Today's episode is sponsored by Shannon Sutton. Hello and welcome to Film Pro Productivity, the podcast that helps film professionals and other creative people to live a more focused, effective and happy life. My name is Carter Ferguson and this is episode 38. How do you eat an elephant? In today's episode, I'm going to be talking once again about habits. I've gone into them before in episode 13, Habit Forming for a Better Life, and I'm absolutely certain that I will be coming back to them again sometime in the future. The more that you do something, the stronger and more efficient the connection becomes. That is habit. And in episode 13, I used a quote by Aristotle. He said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." And forming strong habits, really working to ingrain them into your daily routine, allows you to focus the finite amount of willpower, or shall I call it mental energy, for those of you that have listened to that episode, the finite amount of mental energy you have at your command to make things happen. Habit forming, if you want to get ahead in whatever you're trying to do, just cannot be dismissed. Aristotle also wrote that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and a long time ago I realised the power of this premise would allow me to make enormously complex endeavours simple. Before I was successful in the world of film and TV, I used to direct and design dramatic action which took place at large-scale outdoor fire festivals. The stories were told visually using large, 10-foot tall backpack puppets, which were lit up from the inside, made by groups of people from the community and artists who had been brought in to oversee them. Performances took place as part of a parade of lanterns held by thousands of people who passed repeating scenes of action, which I had directed, as they headed for a destination surrounding a bonfire and fireworks, etc. And as the processions reached the end of their journey, they watched as the elements of the dramatic story which they had passed en route now came together to form a full and connected story, and it was all a very great spectacle. These events had literally thousands of people involved and a bunch of professionals like myself coordinating them. I found them very engaging and really quite easy to put together, though, as it happens, as I simply treated each part of this complex beast as a separate piece, which in turn had many further subsections to it. I remember very well being in meetings where others who tried to imagine the whole escapade in their brain as a single thing would be literally blowing a gasket about the whole thing, and me having to calm them, as in my eye, it was really all very easy. I mean, it had its difficulties, don't get me wrong, but the solutions, when you break it down into parts, were often very simple. And as I think back now, I realise that that was probably my first foray into the world of productivity techniques, and I've taken that principle that complex things can be broken down into a series of smaller working parts into my life and into my work. Habits are formed by the repetition of particular acts. They are strengthened by an increase in the number of repeated acts. Habits are also weakened or broken, and contrary habits are formed by the repetition of contrary acts. Mortimer J. Adler, unquote. I first heard the term elephant habits in a video by Brian Johnson, part of his Optimize series, where he referred to the book Habit Stacking by Stephen S.J. Scott. Habit stacking is a really big subject, but I'm going to go into it a little bit here. It's a simple way to get stuff done by grouping together small tasks into pattern chains and habit chaining. That's chaining or grouping together small activities into a routine which you link to a habit that you've already got set in your day. This makes the routine memorable and anchors your new habits to an existing trigger, therefore making them easier to form. To give an example of this, my morning habit chain might go like this. Wake up, go to the loo, a minute of stretching, brew a pot of coffee, brush my teeth, floss, shower, make breakfast and drink the coffee that I earlier brewed, take some vitamins with that, use some mouthwash, put some washing on and or the dishwasher on, refer to my whiteboard of things to do, which I would have probably written up as part of a routine the night before if I had a lot to do, pack my bag, grab my swimming stuff and head to the car. And incidentally, I talked about this in the last episode, I make packing my swimming stuff part of my morning habit of getting ready to leave the house, as it keeps my habit of daily swimming in check. I hang my wet swimming gear up in the bathroom when I come in at the end of the day, so that in the morning as I brush my teeth and head out, I pick it up from where I've left it and where it's dried overnight, and I take it out to the car ready for my later habit, which I've already established, of going swimming. And then when I have to go for the swim, everything is there and I am ready to rock. A very simple example of habit stacking given by Esquire magazine is about flossing and connecting the flossing habit to brushing your teeth. They say, never remember to floss? ? Work it into your existing habits by flossing right after you brush your teeth, assuming that you remember to do that one, that is. And that's just a really good, simple example of how attaching a new habit to an existing one will help you to set it and maintain it. In the habit stacking book, Scott explains that not all habits are equal though, and that the mistake most people make, or many people make, is that they don't take the time to understand what it takes to build a habit. He goes on to say that there are 3 different types of habits that you should add to a routine. 1 is keystone habits. 2 is support habits. And 3 is what we're here to talk about today, is elephant habits. Keystone habits, by the way, have a positive impact on multiple areas of your life, even if you're not intentionally trying to improve them. When he talks about support habits, he explains that not every habit can be a priority. In fact, you can only focus on a handful of keystone habits before you'll feel overwhelmed, which is why it's important to form support habits. These are habits that support the achievement of a more important keystone habit. And finally, he talks about elephant habits, which is what I want to focus on here today. There's a joke that kids tell, or dads and uncles who are trying to be cool, and it goes along the lines of, how do you eat an elephant? With the response, 1 bite at a time. It's not a particularly funny joke, but it's exactly what is meant by the term elephant habits. The idea is that whenever you're faced with a large complex goal, all you need to do is chip away at it in small chunks. Many people don't apply this mindset though to their lives. When they're forced to tackle large projects, they procrastinate or avoid them completely because the tasks seem insurmountable. This is exactly the mindset that I fought against during the fire festivals. Scott goes on to say that elephant habits are designed to overcome the natural resistance that we all feel whenever we're forced with a potentially unpleasant task to do as well. And this is something I still struggle with a little bit. I know something must be done, but I avoid starting it because dedicating a few days to it is a very unpleasant idea. An elephant habit, however, will allow you to tackle it in smaller increments. Stephen Scott says that the goal here is to chip away at a simple but time-consuming project in 5 to 15-minute daily increments. He gives examples including decluttering your home, organising paperwork, and studying for an exam. I use elephant habits, or my version of them at least, literally every day. My increments for this podcast, however, are much longer chunks, but these chunks of times literally allow me to tackle each one of the 18 current episodes 1 chunk at a time. That might even be split into smaller chunks within each episode. I'm not saying I will complete a single episode on a single sitting, although sometimes I do try to use Parkinson's law to control the amount of time that I spend on them. I do the same for learning on online video courses. The issue I have with them, though, is staying the course, literally. So I've begun to set long-term deadlines for learning these new things. Otherwise, I find they tend to unfold forever. At the moment, though, everything is put to the side as I prioritise this show and the many, many fight jobs that have started coming in, of course, immediately that I've got a deadline for Season 3 looming. The fight jobs are good work with great companies, but each time that they come up, they slow my inertia of podcast work. So you need to beware of that. They slow my habit. They make it difficult for me. Back to the habit stacking book, though, and it says that when you tell yourself that a task only takes 5 minutes of your time, it's easier to convince yourself to get started. And what usually happens is once you get started, you'll find yourself doing more of that activity than you'd originally planned. I certainly find this to be the case when I try it. Huge tasks that I have used elephant habits to complete include working at my parents' house after they passed away to get it ready for sale. Again, though, that took more than 15 minutes each visit, but a pattern of habit helped me to achieve it in a series of chunks. Tackling risk assessments for involved and complex fight scenes or a series of scenes and learning new things are other examples of how I use the elephant habit structure to get things done. It's here that I try and limit my time to shorter, smaller bites, like he's saying, the 5 to 15 minute increments, as frankly my aging brain sometimes finds processing a lot of new content to be pretty hard going. Now, I've still not found out how to pronounce this name properly, and it bothers me that I don't know. If anyone can help me out, please do. But Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, it might be Ron, says that motivation is what gets you started, and habit is what keeps you going. Most creatives have a very far-reaching vision, which is limited only by the time and finances that we have available. Both these resources can be extended, however, and larger, more complex tasks and projects can be completed if we approach them as a sum of their parts. Research shows it only takes between 21 and 40 days to develop a habit, and building an elephant habit of chipping away at these tasks, the tasks involved in creating your larger, greater and more complex visions, is well worth the effort. Your call to action today is to take a large or unpleasant task that you have to complete and that you've been putting off perhaps, and to look at how you can build an elephant habit, perhaps by attaching your habit to something you do already to achieve it, to tackle that task as a series of incremental bites. The next episode is another in my Tell It How It Is style shows, and it's called Don't Do Me a Favour. And please bear in mind too that I'm still looking for your help with an upcoming mailbag or listeners' questions show. So if you want advice on a productivity topic or to tell me about a specific problem that you're having, then please get in touch via the contact pages on the Film Pro Productivity website, and that's filmproproductivity.com. I believe the actual full address is /contact, but if you go onto the site, contact is right at the top. There's a SpeakPipe option on the contact page there, so if you'd like to leave a voice message, then please do use that option. Let me end today's show with the words of Elbert Hubbard, who reminds us that we should cultivate only the habits that you are willing should master you. So don't let bad habits take control of your life, limit your vision, or steal your energy. And it should also be noted that Elbert Hubbard also said, happiness is a habit. Cultivate it. Now take control of your own destiny. Keep on shooting, and join me next time on Film Pro Productivity. The music that you're listening to right now is Adventures by Ihumitsu. You can view the show notes for this episode on the official website at filmproproductivity.com. You can follow my personal account on Twitter and Instagram. Both of them, they're both at fight_director, or follow the show's official Twitter account at filmproprodpod or its Facebook account at filmproproductivity. Please support the show by subscribing, doing the most important thing, which is spreading the word and telling other people about it. And if you've got time, leave me an awesome review. See you next time.